like having the sharp edges on it. I will actually bring in an image, and I will go to File, and I will go to Place, and let's see, let's go to my desktop, and I will go down to my folders and go into my 3D import. I'm going to use one of my, you can do different thumbnails and stuff like that, so large icons, and I'm going to use one of my, I'm going to use the Photoshop one. You see it's rather big, but it brings it in and it gives you the free transform automatically. So I'm going to bring it in, hold down Shift to scale it in uniform, and then bring it in and just kind of put it where I want it to be. And that's pretty good. I won't complain, you know. But say I want it a little bit smaller. You can see it's kind of blurry on mine right now, but that's because it's on the free transform, and you don't have to move it with your mouse. You can move it using your arrow keys, and just get it to, it moves it 1 pixel per click, so you can just kind of scale it up and then just move it around and do whatever you want to do with it. And then once you're done, hit enter, and it drops it. Okay, there it is, beautiful Photoshop tutorial 101, placing pictures, things like that. Congratulations. Anyway, so yeah, actually, if you want to delete a layer mask, you just right click on the layer mask and it says delete or apply, and we're going to delete it here, and we'll do this on our Photoshop one. And we'll add a quick layer mask to it, and we are going to use actually something I did not talk about earlier, which is our gradient tool, which is G for a hotkey. And then up here at the top you'll see that you have your different gradient options, and you have your opacity, your reverse gradients if you would like to do that, and you can see what it does. You know, one way is opacity, one way is black. You can switch it back and forth. And then basically if we wanted to fade this image so that it wasn't so sharp on the corners, then we would just click on the corner of it and then just hold it down, hold down Shift, and it'll make it either a 45-degree angle or a 90-degree angle, whichever you prefer, and then just bring it in and then drop it. And then that fades the image in so that it doesn't look like it has such a sharp angle. And this is good for blending pictures or, you know, whatever you want to do in Photoshop, so that you don't have such sharp edges on everything. And you know, you can do it 4 times, and there you go. It just kind of fades it into that background image. Now, say that we did not want that, and we wanted a different effect on this. I would delete this, and then right-click and delete my layer mask. And say I wanted a different effect. Say I wanted this picture to have a drop shadow so that it looked like it was coming off of the page a little bit. So then I would go to Effects, and I would go to Drop Shadow. It gives you a default, you know, shadow, which is usually pretty good. It looks pretty good actually right now. But you can basically, I'm going to explain a couple things about this. You can change the opacity of it so that it looks darker or lighter. I usually leave it about 75 so that it looks like it's fading off. Sorry about that. And if you do what I just did, you can go to your layer manager and double click on it, and it'll bring back up your effects menu, and just go back to your checked menus for your different things. Anyway, your opacity, which makes it darker, your angle, which affects the you know, the angle of the shadow if you want it to be pushed a different way. It was 125 when we originally started. And then you know, your distance, which is actually the distance that it is from the image, so it can be further or closer or whatever, you know. And I think it was like 5 or something like that, and maybe 7. Your spread, which is you know, how much the shadow is actually affected, which is also referred to as choke by Photoshop. And then your size of it, how big it is. And there you go. That's the basic explanation of a drop shadow or any effect. You know, you can go down through the effects, and they're all pretty much the same. If you click on them, you know, it'll show you the different things, and you can add them or delete them as you want. But I like the drop shadow, so we're going to stick with that one. And I'm going to click on that one, and there we go. So basically what this is just Photoshop. It has a drop shadow on it. You can see that it has an effect on our different layers. And now what we want to do is we're going to add some text to this. So we will click T for our text tool, which is this big gigantic T right here, and you know, use the photo to our advantage, saying that the photo is going to be the basic size, and Photoshop recognizes what we're doing by it'll snap us to our photo. And okay, so there, and we want our text to have pretty much the same margin, so we'll leave it there. And up here on the top you have your text, your different text options. Well, just like every other tool that you have, when you click on it, you have your different options up here, and you can change the size, you can change the alignments, you can change everything about the text, the color of the text, which we don't want it to be orange because it won't show up, so we'll get a black color to come on there. We'll change the size down to about, let's say 10. And then just for the sake of time, I'm going to use this website called Libsyn.com, which is a site that gives you dummy text for anything. If you do a lot of websites or anything like that, you probably use it. So I will go here and I will copy this paragraph, and I will bring it into Photoshop, and I will copy and paste, Control-C, Control-V, and bam, there it is. Now, if your text is not the size that you want it to be, you can change the size, and it'll it'll change it for you. And you can see that it's a little bit big, so I change it to 6. Okay, that's a little small, so I'll change it back up to 9. But close enough. Okay, but since we'll line it up in the middle, and just make it look nice. Put it in. There we go. That looks better. Okay, and there you go. And that is basically what's going on. Now, in order to do this a little bit quicker, we lay this one out and then say that we want to get something similar, but maybe not the exact same thing on all 3 of these. So all we would do is we would, you see our lower Libsyn text, and then we will hold down Control, and we will click the Photoshop background one, and we will drag it down. We will create the new layer. Again, it looks like we didn't do anything. It just made our text a little bit darker. And then we'll drag it over, and let's do it one more time. And okay, there's our layout. Now, this may not be exactly what you want to do, so what we'll do is we will take some of this text for this one, and we will go up here to Edit, and we will cut it, or Control X for a hotkey. And actually, let's Control Z that. Let's take a little bit more, because there's actually text that is below that too. And I'll actually delete a little bit of it too. Delete that, and then go up here. And if you're wondering what this says, it's just basic. It's Latin, so it's not really going to say anything. So we'll Control X to cut, and then we will move our text up, and then we will move it down here. Move our photo down, and up here in the top left hand corner, if you're wondering how I'm just clicking and then it's pulling it up there, it's actually on auto select, so you can check or uncheck, and then if you don't have it checked and you click on it, then it will it'll still be dragging this photo, which you may not want. So I just click auto select, and then I can select. It goes through my different layers as I'm clicking on different things, and then we'll position our photo down, and you can see that it's kind of snapping to the actual photo. And then we can either do one of the two. We can copy this layer and then move it up to the top, and then click on it, drag it down a little bit, and then delete it, and Control V to paste the text in there. Or we could just create a whole new text box, which would be a little bit slower, but this is all about being proficient. And then let's play with a couple different effects. So we're going to double click in here, and we're going to drop off our drop shadow, and let's say that we want let's go with an outer glow on this one. And we'll drop down to our outer glow, and you can see the different colors that we have. And let's just go with this crazy red color down here so that we can see what we're doing. I'll move it out of the way, and then the opacity, bring the opacity up, and doing things like that. And then let's click OK. okay, and it didn't do anything, which is okay. I don't really like outer glow, so let's go inner glow. Inner glow I use to kind of make borders and different things like that on like if you were trying to create a photo and then have like a little border around it, like a button or something like that. Then you can increase the opacity and then make it a little bit noisier so that it has like a granular kind of like a frost almost kind of look to it. And then you can increase the choke, which doesn't really look all that good, so I'm not going to do it. And then there we go, got a little bit of frost around this Photoshop picture. And then we'll click OK. And then this last one, let's change this effect to a drop shadow. And let's see, what do we want to do here? Drop shadow. Let's do it in an inner shadow. Sometimes when I do inner shadows, I like to do this in an inner glow. The difference between an inner glow and an inner shadow is that inner glows do not represent black or any kind of gray colors like that. So if you're trying to do a black, almost like like a faded, kind of like it's fading to a black on the outside, you have to do an inner shadow. And then the way that you would do it to make it uniform and not like this little L shape, ugly little L shape that we have here, we'll just put the distance to 0, and then we'll mess with our opacity, and we'll bring up our size just a little bit, and there you go. It kind of looks like it's fading out there. And what we'll do is we'll auto select this, bring it down here to the bottom, and keep our margins the same, bring this to the top, and there you go. Now, you can also do the same thing. It's not just with images. You can do the same thing with these if you were looking to do maybe an inner shadow with this one, and bring the distance down and choke it a little bit and bring up the opacity and things like that, kind of just to give it a little bit of a border so that it looks a little bit fancier. And then we'll bring it down. And yeah. And then you can just play with different effects and things like that. You can use your gradient tool and your quick layer masks to fade it out if that's what you were really trying to do, and just kind of get a different little look to this one. And there we go. And then we will right click on this and apply this layer mask so that we don't really mess with it anymore. And let's see. And then maybe for this one, let's actually mess with the layer properties a little bit. And we'll do adjustments. We can do brightness and things like that. But that's for the whole image. And that's the difference between image and layer, is image affects the whole image, and layer just affects the layer that you actually have selected. You can do vector masks and things like that. We can do different filling of layers. We can do solid colors and things like that. If we wanted to change this color without, grabbing it or doing anything like that, change the opacity, all that good stuff. And that's giving us a whole different fill color layer, which I really don't like. So, what we can do is color adjustment, solid color, and it's doing the same thing. I don't really like that. So, anyway, if we actually just wanted to change this actual color, we could go back to our marquee tool and just select it with our marquee tool. It'll help us out a little bit, give us a little bit of help, and then we can B for brush and say we wanted to change it to that crazy red color that we had before, brush it, and there we go. And that is pretty much it. Also, actually an easier way to do that, I'm actually going to go back to my rectangle marquee tool. Easier way to do that is if you have this layer selected, you can go up to this little tool called your magic wand tool, and it really is magic. All you have to do is find a solid color that you want to change, and this is why I really stress actually doing this in